And there are reserves in the capital improvement budget in the
Right.
water that can be utilized for that purpose.
Yes.
So we're moving,
Yes, ma'am.
not Ryder.
Is it? Well, I got it.
EA grant committee is next.
Okay, I call the grant committee to order, and I don't think we have minutes from last month's meeting. Just referred to, did you find out anything about the MLK grant that?
That was Curtis, Curtis who was involved in that. The TEEP grant, I'm just waiting to report back from the engineering firm that was awarded that particular grant.
Okay.
The trim grant, I did not get done in time because, the problems I incurred with getting the pool ready to open up on their date of May 24th. CDBG, Kathy, you were
Yeah.
going to look at that.
I got a response from Robin, on the 28th. And no, it's
Yeah, and, let's see, MECO Engineering has submitted the preliminary engineering report for the industrial park water system, basically the water tower. So that is phase one. We're waiting for phase two approval, which will allow MECO to draft plans and specifications for the system expansion. And as I mentioned earlier today, Chuck Fricker said we do not have to title that 3 acres in the industrial park to the court.
That you were saying from.
I heard from Robin Friday, and she says there is no way to get it done by the July cutoff. The city, let's see, I'll read this to you. I don't see that there would be enough time to get an application ready for the city, since you are not considered a low to moderate income HUD census data. We have to do a survey of the community and get 80% of the surveys back to determine if the city is 51% low to moderate income. That process can take 3 to 4 months if all goes well. If all goes well. Sure wish she'd have known about it sooner. She could have been working on it. She's the guy to help you out in any way you can, so I asked her to get back with me and maybe we can move forward for the next round. But which we do have. So there you go, yeah. We're not eligible, I mean, there's, which is what I told you the other day, it's too late.
Right.
It's too much going on.
You don't have that information over at home, do you? As far as our HUD compliance with what our residents are?
No. Because
I'll speak to you afterwards.
the census already says that, then you have to go back and survey everybody. You have to do the survey, it doesn't matter who has what he has, you have to do the survey.
And the CDBG for the national grant.
Is still up in the air.
It's not hopeful.
No.
So we complied with that CDBG, but we won't apply for a new CDBG.
I talked to Carolyn Weisgarber regarding that, and,
DED's not
Phase out.
granting extensions.
said they're not gonna provide an extension, you'll have to reapply for it.
So it's a different problem. Right?
Yeah.
Yes,
This
two
one,
different things.
this one was there and we ran out of time. We didn't do it. It's not just someone's fault.
No.
Okay, does anybody
Not
have
at all.
anything else for grants? If not, we'll adjourn the meeting.
Ordinance.
I call the ordinance committee to order and move that we accept the minutes as of, do we have a second?
Second?
Okay, all in favor? Okay, we have 5 ordinances tonight, and I will make it past the hearings. I would hope that they would be posted so we would have to read it in entirety. Okay.
When you're just deciding to take them to full council.
Yes,
so
yeah, but I need
You
to.
don't have to really read them by, you don't do it by.
I know. Okay, the first one is submitted by the city clerk, and it is done every year. It's establishing the salaries of various positions. Reads as follows. And ordinance establishing the salaries of city administrator, city attorney, city prosecutor, chief of police, city judge, city treasurer, ci-
I don't think you need to read it. I think everybody has a copy, and you can just refer to it, right?
Refer to title.
Oh, okay.
Title.
Okay.
That's what he said, that's what it all says in the title.
That's all he's doing, yeah.
It's, you don't even have to refer to it by title, as long, once we know what it is,
Oh, okay.
it's just a discussion, right?
Yeah, but I.
So
no,
just read the
it's-
cover page is what you want.
Okay, yeah, the
Yeah.
cover page.
Okay, I'll do that, no problem at all. The next one is also submitted by the, I need to bring it. Yeah, please. Okay, do I have a motion to bring it to
I'll make a
council?
motion to break that.
Second,
Second.
all in favor,
Discussion there.
discussion?
Discussion. Some of these salaries aren't set. How we pass them in order to set them.
What do you mean they're not set?
We haven't set the city administrator's salary,
Yes, we have.
have we?
Is it
Did
not
you-
listed there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah,
the first one.
Is that not the one you're on?
yeah.
Yes.
There.
Yeah, that hasn't been set. I do. I
This
do
is
know.
setting it.
I think this
This sets it.
ordinance sets it. Are you speaking to our conversation about having a discussion about it?
Well, yeah.
Okay, so if you don't, as I said in the memo, I think that that's something we need to take a longer term look at. We need to do some research and have a real look at that whole position, right?
But I'm agreeing with what you said, but there was supposed to be a discussion. If we pass this ordinance without discussion, there's no discussion.
This is just to take it to full council, where you can to debate it in full council. Right now, you're just talking to the ordinance committee.
Okay, well, I'm not on the ordinance committee, so just do whatever you please.
That's not what I please, is what the ordinance committee pleases, and the discussion would happen amongst the full council, which I think is appropriate to be you.
Go ahead and do what you want to do. I'll talk to you about it later.
I'm not doing, I want to be clear, Don,
I'm
I'm
not-
not doing something.
I want to be known that I'm not upset with you.
Okay.
I'm not upset with this figure. I'm upset with the way we do things backwards.
What would you like to see happen?
I would like for you to tell John Q. Public and Mr. Newspaper Man about the memo that you sent us explaining what we were doing.
I gave.
They were provided a
a
copy of that.
copy of the memo, but I will be glad to recap, which is that my recommendation on this is that the timing, first off, there's a number of issues, but the first one is that the timing of this particular ordinance is out of sync with the appointments. We should be having this conversation, setting the salaries for these positions in advance of going out and looking to get people to fill these appointments. It doesn't make much sense to put somebody in a position and then set their salary, right? We should decide what the salary is and then put them in, and then find somebody for that position. So my recommendation to correct that is that we review this again in, say, 8 months, instead of waiting a full year, so that we have done it prior to the next round of appointments. So that's one part. Second part is, there's some debate about whether or not these numbers are appropriate. In particular, there's concern about the city administrator's salary. So instead of pulling numbers out of the air, or just because John down the street thinks this or that, I think that we should do our due diligence and do a study and get comparables and see what it looks like, and make sure that our salary is a competitive, comparable, reasonable salary. That's gonna take time. It's gonna take more than the 2 weeks that we have, to deal with this. So my recommendation is to leave things alone. This is what I went to people with and asked them to serve and be in these positions at. I'd like to leave that alone this year, address it in 8 months, have done our due diligence by that time, and make any adjustments that we need by that 8-month mark, so that next year at this time, we're very confident that these numbers are good and reasonable numbers, and we can back that up with facts that we've looked into.
explain to the public so that they would know that, well, they should already know that whatever we're doing here has been done backwards. And for Mr. Jenny's benefit, I'm not opposed to his pay. And I call several cities around, and there's nothing to compare it with because they're not like Louisiana,
Right.
they're unique.
We're gonna have to compete regionally, maybe nationally, to get that information.
So I
Which is
hope that
another
Mr.
thing to
Jenny
understand.
doesn't take this personal,
I do not,
because
not whatsoever.
Bob and I
have-
talked about this, and he's totally on board with taking a look at this and doing the comparables and making sure we're.
I'd also like to explain, I was elected by the people for the people. And I have several people in my ward that are not happy with the 78,000, probably not gonna be happy with me voting. And that's why I wanted you to share with the public that we are going to make some changes, and not because of Mr. Jenny. And may not make a change,
We're gonna take a
But we're
good
gonna
look.
take a look
Facts.
at it.
Yes,
and I don't think that was done in the last year's
I
appointment.
agree, agreed. This is
That's all
exactly what's going
that's all
on.
I wanted you to do.
Okay, so we're good.
And yeah, well, we're good, we weren't, I wasn't upset with you that much, except I just wanted I just wanted you to explain this.
Okay.
In essence, what I'm doing is asking the committee to bring it to full council. That's when it has to
We
be
will all get
discussed.
a chance to discuss.
Everybody gets a chance,
Yay.
okay?
Yay.
Everybody, yay?
Yeah.
Okay. Second one is appropriation of money for various departments of June 1,
Should be 2014.
2014 through May 31st, 2014. Do I
I'll
have
make a
mo-
motion, we take it.
May 1st, 2015.
Okay, 2015. Okay,
Second.
second, all in favor? Okay, that goes on. Next one is, again, city clerk, cancellation of the surplus balances of the 2013-2014 budget. I have a motion to bring that to full
I'll
council.
make a motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, next one comes from Mr. Carter. It's a procedure for purchasing and making contracts. Okay, it's rather lengthy, I would hope it would be posted. Do I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I don't know if you can make a motion on your own.
Yeah.
You can? Okay.
Um,
Second?
I want discussion on this. We do.
I'll second it so we can have discussion.
Okay.
It's okay. Bob and I talked with that briefly. I have and we're totally open to having an ordinance that describes this. I don't know that it's necessary. I feel a little bit micromanaged, and I can understand if you think that there's a problem and we're not gonna be able to get on top of representing the fiscal wishes of the council, but I understand the need, I'm sat in that seat, I understand the need to want to do that. And I'm okay with this process. If you're going to pass this, though, I would look at two things in particular. One, there's an issue with a lower limit, as I read it, and need to read it again. It looked like, for instance, when Bob was doing the pool, he needed $5 of paint. He went across the street to Orscheln's and bought $5 of paint. I don't want to have to go out for bid for $5 of paint. So I need to make sure that there's something in there that indicates a lower limit.
You might have to ask the city attorney on that, but I don't think that's spelled out there. I think he's got a threshold of a department head. Hopefully, he's not buying paint, hopefully the department head is. They got a threshold of $500 or something to,
Well, if we're gonna put it in here, I think that language needs to be in here too, because the reality is somebody in his seat or my seat is gonna go there to find out what it is we're supposed to be doing, right?
okay? Let me point of clarification just a little bit, and the city attorney hopefully interject here. I realize there's probably some adjustments that need to be made in this. This can be presented for council and only be given one reading at council. And if there's adjustments that need to be made, or how do we need to do this without, we can postpone it again for another 30 days. There's no need to rush this process.
Right.
The whole point of this is to iron it out, not just go
So that's what
by
we're doing.
exactly everything that I wrote down here.
Right, so that's what we're doing. I would ask that if you want to pursue this, that we get some language in there that illustrates what those lower thresholds are, so it's nice and clear for us to administrate. Secondly, I'd like some consideration to understand and make distinction for general maintenance things that we do. Everything from hiring an electrician to change lights in a historic district to painting a sign as needed. When those things that are really a maintenance function and rather routine, they may add up to quite a bit over time, but there's no contract that's particularly let, it's just, I'm not sure exactly how to do that. I would prefer to have administrative, be able to make that call administratively and not have it legislated for me. But it's clear that that's not a possibility.
I think
It
that's a
doesn't
reasonable.
match fiscal policy, then we need some language to describe
And
that.
that point exactly, and Bob, correct me if I'm wrong on this, I've been told numerous things. There is no guidance on that. There is line items called contract service work. The term contract in the budget to me means that there's a contract for that service work. That's one issue. But the thing is, if we,
But that could be a verbal contract that I'm making because I called you and said I want this work done.
but, so what I've been told, and please correct me if I'm wrong, I've been told that we try to be fairly, distribute city funds for items. If we need 2x4s, we'll get it from Fowler's one time, and then the next month we get it at Lacrosse. And we try to rotate those services around. That process sounds great, and I'm not in disagreement with it, but it's not spelled out that it should be followed. Okay?
Everything doesn't need to be spelled out.
But-
to work.
But over a year's time, if you're providing service work, service contract work, this is just an example, and it totals to $5,000 or $10,000 in a year, and there's no other comparative service work being let, then there should be a contract let out on that. It's a set deal at a set price. And that
It
can
could be
be,
bundled to be treated as a contract or agreement. And chemicals are a good example. You've been buying chemicals sort of here and there, it's always below the $3,000 mark, so I've got a bunch of $2,800 fees.
and I haven't been below that mark, but that's okay.
What I've asked, and what I plan on moving this towards, is getting those packaged together, fewer purchases that are larger, and let's put them out to bid. But I think that I can do that administratively, and Bob has indicated to me that we can get there. So I just caution about over legislation for things that are really administrative things, unless you feel that it's really necessary to reflect and control those processes, which it may be, and I'm not opposed to this ordinance, I'm just asking you to err on the side of letting me do my job.
And I'll end with this. The whole intent, and you use the term micromanage and stuff, that's not the intent. The intent is give you the free hand with the guy that sits up laid before you. The intent is, we have a very tight budget. Funds are very, very strict as far as what we can spend money on. As a council person, as a constituent of this city, I would like to know that we are getting the best work, the best material, the best service, everything for the amount of money that we are spending for it. And if that requires a little extra work to make phone calls or make a formal bid process, I'm sorry if that's considered micromanaging. That's part of doing your
Tim, you
job.
and I want the same thing, I'm not disagreeing. I'm disagreeing that I don't need a law to tell me that that's what I need to do.
Right.
That's the micromanagement.
Mayor, I understand understand your point, and it's nothing personal, but you're not gonna be sitting here for the next 20 years.
No, I'm not. And I was looking for the last four. I understand.
Can we move on, please? I mean, it's,
Yes. Do I have a motion to bring this to full council?
We
a
already did
motion and a
some,
second.
Okay, second. All in favor? No? Phil didn't.
How about the second one, Chuck?
Second one is similar. Procedure for rules and regulations for letting, reviewing, and awarding of purchase or contract. Do I have a motion to move to full council?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second? Do I have a second? Let's not go to full council.
Mayor, I'd like to have both ordinances posted. I'll give it to the city clerk tomorrow.
I'm done.
We're really done? Wow. Thank you, guys.
I don't believe it.
I appreciate it. You all deserve comment day. Thank you.
Okay.
There you go. Oh, boy.
Excuse me, ma'am.
That's my bad.
The ordinance, read them this week, the
Yes.
Yeah. You might want to, I don't know if there is that you'll be bringing
All right, I'll need some.
You know, you were, then after that,
Yeah, Bill, yeah.
You put me a green note on there.
I just see him getting big for
Sorry.
No.
Desert pictures posted on Facebook. It was really good. I was over there for it. Yes, and it was all inside. I'll bet. One day I was there, and it was 100 cross streets.
It's beautiful though down by the,
Yeah, I mean, it's